Hey, CityCast Denver host Bree here. At the end of today's episode, I'm chatting with Andy Cambron, CEO of MultiPass, about 3 different nights out in the city. From a bass-heavy party at Temple, to a magic show, to a tour that is bringing serious late-night energy. And it's all brought to you by MultiPass, so stick around. Welcome to CityCast Denver. I'm Bree Davies, and here's what Denver's talking about. Good morning, producer Paul Crowley.
Hey, happy 303 day, Bree.
Oh my God, is it?
Did you forget?
Yes, I did.
How dare you?
Patty Calhoun, editor, Westward editor-in-chief, is also here. Hi, Patty.
Hi. Oh, of course we knew it was 303 Day. Colorado's first zip code bestowed upon us in 1947.
Wow.
Wow.
I was looking at my 303 story.
But we weren't using that yet because my mom had the
numbers like VE5 or
hers
whatever.
was Skyline 606 or something. That was her phone number.
Maybe it was calling out of the area.
Okay.
But we're out now. We're up to what, 5, I think? But 303 Days still love the whole concept.
Paul,
Even
you a
though
big
it's now been
303
called
day?
Buy Colorado Day.
Wait, it's by Colorado Day?
This is what Ricardo Baca, formerly of the Post, now with Grasslands PR
sure.
agency, is trying to do. He's trying to do a whole Buy Colorado thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we always had
I was
Always
gonna say,
by Colorado.
Always by Colorado,
and Colorado
ABC.
Proud, which sort of still exists.
Yeah, you can find the produce stickers
Anyway,
on
great
things.
party at number 38 tonight.
Ooh.
Free.
Are you
Hot
throwing it?
tip.
No.
Is Westward throwing it?
Nope. I'm just saying it's a great party because I just put the listing in.
What's going to be at this party? What
Local
can I
bands.
expect? Yeah?
Local bands and still some good weather, although it's getting colder.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I think it's supposed to be
really weird
rainy
weather.
tomorrow. Well, today, 303 day, rain on the forecast.
I had 100 people.
How not
I
303
know,
to
that's
have rain.
weird. Super weird.
It is weird to not be wintry right now. It's uncomfortable. All our tulips are coming up. Our bushes are already, and we haven't even.
It's creepy.
It's creepy. I don't love it. All right, news. Wow, we have 2 pretty big stories today. One, let's start with the mayor. I think in part because this story was reported by the New York Times. Mayor Johnston announced a new executive order answering the question, "What if it happens here?" Again, the New York Times reported that he will bar federal immigration officers from city-owned property, prohibit use of city-owned or city-controlled property, including assembling, mobilizing, or deploying personnel, vehicles, equipment, or materials for the purpose of civil immigration enforcement. So this is sort of a preemptive pushback to what happened in Minneapolis with ICE.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. But he'd said most of this before. That's the other thing. It was the first time it was all grouped together in a really coherent way. And I think that was important because many is the time we've all sat down and said, okay, where are we on the sanctuary city status? Where are we on this? And Chief Thomas, for example, had already come forward and said in the wake of the Peretti and Good killings in Minneapolis that if they see federal agents abusing protesters, dealing with them inappropriately, the Denver police will take action. So he'd already said that in some interviews. We finally got this all together.
DPD Police Chief Ron Thomas.
I didn't realize he'd already said that
He
because that's
had
definitely what
already
grabbed
said
me
it.
about what the mayor announced last week was that thing about, because the implication of that is, well, I mean, once you start thinking about what those incidents might escalate into, then you start thinking bigger questions.
Right. Well, do you say cut it out? Or do
Yeah.
you say you're under arrest? I mean, there are a lot of issues that they didn't parse during that.
Yeah, if-
Like, will
if a police
DPD
officer-
arrest ICE agents? Is that what you're...
And if an ICE agent resists arrest, what do you do with someone who resists arrest?
Yeah.
We didn't even
What
get
happens
it.
if they get violent?
Well,
What
there
are
were
we,
a lot
what are
of
we
things.
instructing our police to do in engagements with
great
ICE?
question.
That's the exact question here. And so Denver had asked DPD Police Thomas about this. He was like, we're not looking to create hostility or create conflict or to escalate. But he was like, where was this thing? They were asking about civil war. Yeah, when Denver asked Thomas about the possibility of the executive order leading to a civil war, Thomas said, I think that is a reasonable concern. What?
Oh my God.
What? But again, we are experts in de-escalation. That is our value. That is what we will lead with. So we're putting the police now in a position of following orders that could lead to civil war, open violent conflict on the streets of Denver, and we're relying on their de-escalation training in engagements with ICE
Yeah,
to
but they
stop that
probably
from
had better
happening.
de-escalation training than ICE has.
Yes, that's true.
I
and
mean,
we have to remember,
but yes,
we had
that's
a
what
mayor,
we're talking about.
a mayor who 16 months ago was talking about the Highland mommies lining up at the border to keep ICE out. So there is some hyperbole here, but I think putting it all in one executive order was really important. And it was kind of Mike Johnston's get tough week. Like first he said moratorium on
data centers.
Data centers.
New ones.
Future ones, not the ones underway.
yes.
That one. Get rid of Flock, but we've got a replacement for Flock. And then this came up. And I think that one of the things that is important to note is they say it's not in response to any indication that ICE is going to come here more, parachute in like it did to Minnesota. But I still think it's very important that we get what our standards are out there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think this is probably reassuring to a lot of people. I think it's also popular for a lot of Denverites. I mean, if you look at the polling, like I always like to do, go to the numbers, you can see Colorado Polling Institute had data last year. They polled people on, if you're supportive of Mike Johnston, what do you like about him? And one of the things he scored highest on was standing up to Trump and immigration. And this is Mike Johnston doubling down on a center of power with his strongest supporters. So I expect those people that like him will love this.
And he had a good through line, which was protect, not provoke. That is the theory here. So protect your people, protect your residents, protect them if you have to from ICE coming in, but not provoke. Now, how easy is that? Who knows?
I'm not worried about DPD provoking. I'm worried about ICE provoking. But also, the other thing is the timing. The timing, you're saying this is Mike Johnston's Get Tough week. I think the timing, it was weeks after Donald Trump changed his mind about Minneapolis. After
I
the
was going to say, they really pulled
Trump
back.
completely changed his approach.
Right.
He changed the leadership. He brought the ICE officers out. And now here, weeks later, Mayor Johnston decides this is when to put the policy out. The timing that's much more important is, you called it Johnston's Get Tough week. I think I might call it Johnston's Step to the Left week. These were appeals to progressives, the lefties of Denver, dropping Flock, moratorium on data centers, the ICE thing. Like, I think, and he rejected this premise when we talked to him last week, but I think he got some polling on his reelection, showing some new numbers that said, you might need to shore up your base.
And I think people were looking for this kind of leadership because, again, I'm just thinking about folks that are protesting or even that were just legal observers. What do you do when ICE and DPD is there and you don't know the relationship between them or how they're going to react to you? And there's just a lot of unknowns. So this was him setting a precedence, at least, to say this is what DPD will do, or at least this is the position DPD will take. I don't know we don't know what DPD would do in the moment.
Let's hope we don't have moments where we have to find out. But meantime, it's a year from when Mike Johnston went and talked to Congress about the sanctuary city thing.
Has it been a year?
It's
Yeah,
been
true.
a year. So to be able to have this codified, as much as they're going to codify, was good. It was useful for all of us.
You brought up the Highland Mommies too, and I can't just think enough about a huge reason that Trump had to back off Minneapolis was because that community, and I've said this before, was organized, so well organized at a community level. Like neighbors, it was such a coordinated effort to support and protect communities. And I don't see Denver's necessarily not in that position, but we may not have to be because Trump saw what happened. And
I think he backed off because he was losing Republicans and he was worried
I
about
think
the
it
midterms.
was both. I honestly think it was both. I think we can't undermine the fact that folks were coming out from the suburbs of Minneapolis to help people.
I mean,
they were motivated to say, this is not happening.
It
where
was,
I live."
it was outrageous for a wide spectrum of people across, regardless of politics. And it's connected how it would affect his decision. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a liability with his supporters. I mean, one of the things I learned from our big Lauren Boebert project last year is, and I thought this was just it kind of blew my mind. I wish I could remember who said this, but only your supporters can cancel you. Only the people who love you most can cancel you. Your detractors, the people that complained about Lauren Boebert for years, they couldn't tear her down.
It didn't
the
matter.
reason why that she changed districts was because she was losing the people that loved her, that took her to Congress in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you, and I agree that was a big point in Minneapolis. I just can't overlook the fact that they fought back harder than I think Trump expected neighborhoods to.
Well, and
Yeah,
that
they
also
sure did.
affected his supporters in Minnesota who would know some of these people.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's connected. They're probably
Sure.
seeing those things. It's it's a broader pushback.
Yeah.
People change their minds.
I'm also thinking about the push from city council for the face mask banning. And I don't know how that fits into this picture, but there's been a lot of questions about
it fits
how
back
it'll
in
be
a few
applied.
ways. One is that it's the question of enforcement is the same
Right.
for the ice mask ban and for this stuff that Johnston is proposing. The Department of Homeland Security has basically said, we don't care about anything you say. We'll do whatever we want.
Yeah.
And so that's probably going to lead to lawsuits in both of these cases.
Think about when we're going back in history. Think about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when the DPD, you did not consider the cops your friends. And now at least what work has been done in the community to feel more comfortable. And the fact that people are outraged that federal agents can wear masks, but our law enforcement officers do not. They are willing to put their lives on the line every day without masks. They're very clear that they're willing to do it, that that's their job. And I think it's really separated how people feel. People also are feeling better about the Denver police. Not entirely.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna
definitely
say.
feeling
I
at
agree.
community
It's interesting.
meetings and other places. And part of that is Chief Thomas going forward, saying things even before there was this press conference last Thursday, but saying we will deal with this if we see ICE agents manhandling
And I
residents
just
of
see him
Denver.
out a lot at community
He is at a
events
lot.
that are not related to any of this. And I mean, I think he knows what he's doing. He's establishing DPD's role in the community.
The other connection with these two policies, the ice mask ban proposal and Johnston's rollout here, is that they both have the potential to trigger what I've been calling the Eye of Sauron problem, which is if you make yourself known, if you present yourself as a threat to the president, he will treat you as such and perhaps lead increasingly to a crackdown. And so Johnston giving a big exclusive to the New York Times, getting a little attention for himself on a national stage is maybe putting a target on his back and saying, hey, send the armies of Mordor to Denver.
But to be fair, he was testifying in front of Congress about being a sanctuary city too. So I don't
year
think
ago.
he's hidden.
And
He was
before
in-
that,
he was invited to come.
Right.
He did
Fair.
not want to go.
Fair.
well,
Fair.
he was
He would
invited
say
to
he
come
didn't wanna go.
because of what he'd said 5 months earlier when you're talking
The
about the Highland
Highland
Mommies.
Mommies,
So he hasn't been afraid to put himself on the line.
Yeah.
This just, as I said, is handy because it codifies what our policies are. You don't have to go back over all the different interviews. You don't have to go back through a lot of documents. This is it. Now, it doesn't say everything, like what happens if you're trying to arrest
That's
an
kind of the
ICE
wait
agent.
and see part of this
But-
situation.
I mean, the fact that the police chief is talking about civil war is like, oh my God, what country are we living in?
But I think that's what a lot of people are
By the
feeling
way,
right now.
Certainly in
speaking of
Minnesota.
war, country went to war over the weekend since our
Oh my
last
God.
episode. We're not
Yeah,
a
we're
foreign
not
affairs
talking about bombing
podcast, but my God,
It's an elementary school. Yeah.
Mr. Flip Flop Trump he didn't want to do regime change, and now he's done too. That's what he's going for.
Yeah, I was watching this
On
Saturday
our
night.
topic, but wow.
The Saturday night clips from 2011 on Trump's positions heading up to now on this, but he's never afraid to flip flop.
Yeah, that's our president.
All right. Well, we were talking about the mayor. We will bring the mayor back up here in a little bit, but we're going to move on to another big topic that honestly has been blowing up everywhere.
This episode is brought to you by MultiPass. Because MultiPass was founded by event hosts for event hosts. You can sell tickets, memberships, and find local events with MultiPass. MultiPass is proudly based right here in Denver, Colorado, and deeply rooted in the local event and creative scene. That's how they knew how to create a platform that allows you to build vibrant communities. You'll see for yourself when you RSVP for your first event on MultiPass. They've got a unique community chat feature that unlocks when you say you're attending, which for attendees is awesome because then you get to meet like-minded people. And for event hosts, it helps attendees connect and engage and get the most out of your thing. They've also got revenue sharing tools built in, which automatically split ticket revenue between producers, performers, and promoters, and a promoter dashboard to boost attendance with built-in tools to add street teams and track performance. MultiPass is designed to help everyone in the event ecosystem win, not just the platform. Learn more at multipass.com. That's multipass.com.
This episode is brought to you by Cozy Earth. What does comfort that carries you from morning to night feel like? This March, Cozy Earth crafts every piece with care. From soft, supportive socks for your steps through the day to breathable comforters that help you rest deeply at night. Every detail is intentional, so your everyday feels quietly elevated. Cozy Earth socks come in 4 versatile styles: calf, quarter, ankle, and no-show. And each pair is crafted with care to fit seamlessly into your routine. I feel like I wash my socks like multiple times a week so I can just keep wearing these same Cozy Earth socks. But the fact that they fit perfectly into my Uggs was like, these are the best socks that have ever existed. And let me tell you about their comforters, which are designed with naturally breathable, temperature-regulating materials that help your body settle and keep cool, calm, and gently supported throughout the night. Head to CozyEarth.com and use code CozyDenver for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here on CityCast Denver. Experience the craft behind the comfort and make every day feel intentional. We're talking about restaurants. There's this renewed debate over the tipped minimum wage conversation, and a new report just came out. Paul, what was this report?
Okay, so this is going to feel like a news story to a lot of people, but for those of us who've been following it for a while, this is the latest chapter of a story that's been going for years and years and years. On Friday, a new report was published from the Department of Economic Development. No, the Denver Economic Development Office is their name.
Tito.
Which I have to disclose. CityCast is working with them on something completely separate from this, but something in the sponsorship realm we're working on with them, totally separate. So Dito was working with Visit Denver and this restaurant analytics software company called InKind. And they last year hired a couple of what they're calling restaurant liaisons, longtime Denver restaurant professionals, to help the city work with restaurants and understand better what the problem is. Because for years we've been hearing about restaurant owners complaining about how hard it is to do business here, how expensive it is to do business here, how labor costs, the cost of everything is going up. And then at the state capitol last spring, there was a giant fight over this exact issue, wages in restaurants. Should municipalities, should the law allow restaurants to pay servers a lower base wage? That's what the tip credit is. That's what the tip minimum wage is, the base wage before the tips. So after that, they commissioned this report. Finally, the report is here. That's what happened on Friday. And the report is, it sounds like it's. They talked to a lot of restaurant owners. They talked to I think 80 restaurants. They got a ton of data from a variety of sources, including the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and they have concluded, I thought this was the takeaway, the evidence collected through this project shows that Denver's restaurant industry economy is in a period of, quote, structural contraction, not recovery. Across the country, restaurants are recovering from the pandemic, but not here. And specifically, if you look at jobs, they have a chart in here, full-time, full-service restaurant jobs, you could see through the 2010s, growth, jobs going up, and then 2018, 2019, 2020-ish, started to plateau, 2021, down to the toilet, obviously, and they've come back up, but now they're declining. So what this report is pointing us to is this structural decline. So what is the problem? That's what the report is about. What is happening beyond, there's so many different factors, but is it the labor? Is it this or that? And then they have some recommendations.
Patty, what'd you think?
It's a lot of things. And so this was set in motion a year ago, again, to get into history. Dave Query, who owns Jack's and Big Red F, he's based out of Boulder, but owns many restaurants, sent a note around because specifically he was upset about what was going on in Lodo. And I know there were reports on it. And it's not just, it's cost. It's the construction outside the restaurant so people can't get there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're talking about, he wrote the letter about the 16th Street Mall.
That set this all in motion, though, the 16th Street Mall, okay. Lodo, downtown. And he was talking about a lot of these issues. And that went around to all the different officials. And then in August, Visit Denver had pulled together this project, which I don't think would have happened without Visit Denver because they're quasi-independent from economic development. Mm-hmm. Pulled it together. They'd put out a request for bids. Oddly, Dana Query, who's married to Dave Query, and Adam Schlegel, co-founder of Snooze, got together. They were the ones whose bid was taken to do this
to put
analysis.
This report together. Okay.
So they certainly know restaurants. Adam had done Snooze and been out of the country for a couple of years. So he came back fresh and was a little shocked, I think, by what he found here. It's the cost of labor. It's the cost of all ingredients. And that's around cost of doing business. That's true across the country. It's rent going up even in areas where there are vacancies. Mm-hmm. So it's the cost. That's one issue. In a lot of parts of Denver, it's the perception of danger. And in other whether actual or fake. And it's a narrative that some people have pushed. And it also just the inconvenience of trying to go out to dine. We did a quick story on the findings of the report, put some comments in, and what might not ring as much in that report as is ringing with our readers is how expensive it is to go out to eat. And there may be lots of reasons for how expensive it is, and that's in that report. But we just ran one quote, which is, "It's so effing expensive, I can't go out." And people are really hurting much more than I think a lot of people realize financially. They just can't afford that meal out.
Yeah, I mean, all the costs go up. The restaurants, we know these stories. We've heard these stories. The costs go up. They have to raise prices. People stop coming. Restaurants fail.
They don't want to pay $20 for a burger. Yeah.
Yeah, people don't feel like they can see value anymore.
Yeah, I'm just thinking
Restaurants
about
go out of business.
the other implications, like the labor cost is a big one. But again, the ingredients, the actual what you're serving costs,
Yeah.
the rent's going up. And I think it's interesting that the burden seems to be continuing to fall on what people get paid. And we're still talking about a city that's expensive. So those folks still need to live and work.
It's a long report, and the numbers are here. The labor costs are up 50 to 55%, with tipped position wages up 95%. Rent is up 23%. CAM and property tax is up 20%. COGS up 22%. Insurance utilities rising sharply. So everything is up, but nothing is up as high as labor.
And that's when you see, I was at the Edgewater, which is a town that actually did what, the legislature kicked the can down the road. They said, okay, municipalities, if you want to deal with tip minimum wage, you can. And Edgewater did. And this is unrelated to their recent move, but I was at the Edgewater Beer Garden, and you see a model that's coming in increasingly, which is counter service. You go get your meal, you pick up your beer, you go back to your seat. And that cuts through some of the labor costs because 55% is hard. And you see restaurants have gotten rid of bussers. The waiters and waitresses are doing their own busing. You're cutting costs where you can. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Denver deals with this, because it'll have to go to council, and whether they can kind of level off the tip minimum wage, literally, so that those who get access to the tips, they will definitely be receiving less money, but maybe back of the house and the other people will continue to get more.
Yeah. The equity piece between front of house who work on tips and then back of house who maybe don't always. Like, there's so many ways to do a restaurant too. Like
service charge.
The advocates who like in this industry, the Restaurant Association and Eat Denver, like they're all about these reports and this data. Like, they say, yes, there's absolutely a problem. But then when you ask about solutions, and even in the report, the recommendations are like, there's like 20 different things. That's where this debate's going to get interesting, because everyone has a different idea of what the possible fix is. Is it mandated service charges? Is it lowering the tipped minimum wage? Is it just removing the tip minimum wage entirely and just having, quote, one fair wage, which is what a lot of our progressive council members favor? I mean, people want similar things. I mean, I think there's a divide there, but then the policy answers are like ridiculously complicated. Like, Darrell Watson is the one council member who has read this report. At least I checked with him in a few, but he read this report and he was like, yeah, I do think we need to do something. And then the Post reported that he favors a middle ground solution where there's some kind of like incentive around like a service fee, like to try to get people on service fees. So there's some third wage between the tip. Like, it's honestly humbling for me. Like, in one way, I'm attracted to big, complicated problems, but I cannot wrap my head around this stuff. There's always another person saying, well, what about this? Did you think about this?
And then you get the other side, the would-be diners who just say, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
It's just, and they don't get it. And they don't get why, yes, the prices have to go up because we have to pay people so they could have a living wage.
Yeah.
But does that mean fewer people are going to be hired? Does it mean busboys are going to disappear?
It's just so interesting. Anecdotally, I've talked about this before. I'm thinking about the restaurants we go to all the time, the 3 we went to last week that we go to all the time: Looking Good Lounge, run by a family,
in
Saigon
Lakewood,
Bowl.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they're in Denver. They're on the Denver side of Sheridan. Saigon Bowl and Torres. We've had the same servers at those restaurants for years. Nothing much has changed there.
Do they still have busboys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I talked to the
Barbacks?
busboy. Yes. I've literally seen no change in staff. I was at Looking Good yesterday. In the last 10 years, same people. The bussers are Amazing. But I'm just thinking about my experience at Edgewater Market, which is what you just described, Patty, which was go to a kiosk. There might be someone wandering around back there to talk to you, but they're not taking your order. And then you go and sit down and you do everything yourself.
Yeah.
And that was so much more expensive
Well,
than when I went to Looking Good.
This is going to be a big debate. We're going to be talking about this for a few weeks. We know the mayor's office is hot on this. They want to have some kind of change. I wonder if you talk to the people who run these 3 restaurants that you love and hear what they say about labor
I would
costs
love
and
to.
if their business models work and where they came from.
Yeah,
Are they all mom
'cause-
and pop?
yeah, I believe so.
So it'd be interesting if you get the same people, because I've talked to a lot of people about just ground meat, the cost going up and
Yeah.
what it does
The
to them.
Greek family that owns Looking Good has run it since it opened,
They'd
and now
be
it's
fun
the
to talk to.
sons. Yeah, and I talk to one of the sons all the time because he's always he works every, he's one of those, he works every position. But I would love to talk to him and find out how they're making it work.
Yeah. I have to say, I know this is going to get controversial and people have strong feelings about this, but we're going to try to play it straight, understand it from different angles, hear different perspectives, try to explore it. We're not going to take a position on this issue. We haven't in the past. We're not going to. We want to hear from everybody and understand how it affects people. Like, I know this is going to get people really fired up, and just let us know what you think and what you would do. I guess.
I mean, people care. It's their neighborhoods. It's what literally flavors a city. And about 20 years ago, there was this rise of new young chefs, and they became almost like rock stars. It's like the live music scene in a lot of ways, brings people together. It's your third place. It's where you go. It's why you love a city, because there are places you will go for 10 years, places you will go to 3 times a week. And so people take it very personally.
Well, to that point, the fact that some of the folks that have been the most outspoken from the restaurant industry in favor of lowering the tip minimum wage, aka increasing the tip credit, that's the same thing when people say that, are from that generation. Like, we might talk about Juan Padro, formerly still with Juan Culinary Creative Group, but has just stepped back from being the CEO. He was the most outspoken person. He co-founded Highland Tap and Burger in 2010. Alex Seidel is another one of these people. They were very outspoken against the minimum wage, the increases in the minimum wage the last few years that Denver imposed. So they were really out front last year. And then on the other side, there's this whole other cadre of chefs that have started businesses, started restaurants that are super popular right now, that are completely on the other side of the issue. I'm thinking about Kenneth Wan from MacFam. I saw him in the comments under one of Nee Win from Sapsua's Instagram posts. Nee was like,
he's been the most
Nee
vocal.
is one of the, he's the person to watch in Denver right now.
Yeah.
By the most interesting Denverite. If you're not following him on Instagram, you must, because he was out front on the Ice Out protest, and now he's again taking a stand. He's been posting up a storm about this restaurant report. You got to follow him. But he's like, we pay our employees a living wage and we're doing great. What's the problem, everybody else?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, one, you might be a super talented chef that people want to pay high
And you've
prices
gotten
to come see,
a lot of attention.
and you've got a lot of attention. People might be really excited about supporting him right now, but it's generational. It's those people those restaurants that have opened since the minimum wage started going up. Maybe they developed their business model for the climate that exists now, not 15 years ago.
Sure. When you talk about the Alma Fondafina group, they opened after the pandemic. So they already knew the new realities.
Yeah. With a chef's counter, small places.
And that's the thing, though, is
Different
across
staffing
this
models.
conversation, we have talked about so many different price point restaurants. Sapsua and Looking Good Lounge not on the same page, but they're all dealing with the same economy and they're all dealing with the same regulations. So that's all I was saying. My observation was just like, what are these restaurants doing that other restaurants aren't? Or what are the factors that change these things? Because you're right, Paul, if you are a super hot chef right now and you've got reservations for the next 3 months, I'm sure it's not a problem. But that could be different for someone was that restaurant 5-10 years ago and is not that restaurant
And that's
anymore.
also a restaurant that people are going to be paying more. If it's a super hot chef,
Right.
people are going expecting
For
to
the
pay
experience
more
and-
than if they're going to Mexico City Lounge, where I
Right.
was yesterday, for another family-owned one that got its start in the 70s and even before that in the 50s.
Yeah, I'd just be curious how all these different types of restaurants are handling these issues, and because we're hearing from loud voices right now, but it's not representative of the entire ecosystem.
So we need to do a deeper dive into who was in there of the 80 restaurants.
I 100% think.
Oh, did they not show you?
No, I don't think so. But
the
they
age,
they
the
said 80
size.
people, 80 case studies, and then they have the broader statistics. The statistics are, I highly recommend people read the report. If you've seen Instagram posts about this issue, this report is pretty robust. They looked at a lot of data, and it's maybe not the most comprehensive, Clearly more analysis and research is needed, but it's jarring looking at this stuff and hearing about how the restaurant industry has this structural decline they talk about. Like the way they say, like, had we continued on the trajectory we were on before, I think they're identifying this minimum wage law as particularly one of when Denver started jacking up its minimum wage every year, linking it to cost of living, like saying we would have otherwise had 10 to 15,000 more jobs in the restaurant industry. Like, that's a lot of people.
Right. But there's
like maybe they wouldn't have been as good of
Yeah, I was like,
jobs.
how do you
It's
know?
jobs with maybe lower wages, but more jobs versus fewer jobs with higher wages. And maybe that's Denver's values. But that's a big number.
But one of the other things we have to look at, and that's why there's so many interlocking pieces in this issue that it's so confusing. So Denver, the metro area growth has slowed. Denver's pretty level, although it's grown a lot since 10 years ago. But we started getting so many more restaurants. One commenter who's in the industry, after reading my story, said, maybe we just have too many restaurants, and that's part of it. So it's not just the pandemic, it's that we are over-restauranted for the size of the population. Then on top of that, you get people who can't afford to go or people who are scared of coming downtown because of some of our talk show radio friends.
Over-restauranted is that's a value judgment. That's us.
That's a real
judgment.
judgment.
What people are... When we're setting these policies around like wages and zoning for restaurants and construction on Colfax, we're showing our values as a city, and we're shaping it in ways that we don't see. And so if our policies are creating conditions that where more restaurants can't survive, where restaurants are closing more than they're opening, or people don't have jobs that they used to have, we have chosen through that policy that we don't want as many restaurants.
Wouldn't you be interested to know how many restaurant seats per capita there are in Denver compared to Minneapolis or New York or San Francisco? That could be a significant stat. I'm going to ask them if they did it.
I mean, they said in the report that Denver is a more expensive place to run a restaurant than New York.
Right. And that's very interesting and indicative. But the over-restauranted issue could be maybe we have twice as many seats as New York does. Which would be hard to believe, but maybe.
Okay, we got to move on.
Okay, we will talk about this
Yes,
more.
it is
I would
an
love to talk
no,
about
it's
it.
okay.
I can't stop talking about it. It's fascinating.
Ongoing conversation for sure. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we hear from you, our listeners.
Hi, I'm David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, a podcast network that includes this show you're listening to, and also 12 other CityCasts in 12 other cities. And each one knows their city as well as your local team knows yours. So isn't it time we connected them? Don't you want to know how they're tackling their bike lane problems and housing challenges and sidewalk dog poop crises? That's why I'm hosting a new podcast called Your City Could Be Better. Because it could be. Every week, I'll chat with a different host in our CityCast network about what their cities are doing right and wrong, the weird things they're trying, and the surprising successes, so that we can all learn how to make our cities a little bit better. Listen to Your City Could Be Better on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, we're back. We've got two comments related to, I think, our conversation last week with Mayor Johnston. That was we got a lot of feedback on that show.
Did you hear that one, Patty?
I did hear it. And of course, timing is everything. Because didn't it air the morning he then went out and did the ICE thing? Yeah.
Yes.
I did think it was a really interesting interview, especially in light of that.
Yeah.
I've got a comment from Amy Kenry. She's part of this advocacy group that was on the Alameda Project conversation. And she said, my biggest takeaway from the show is that Johnston needs to grow up. Our elected officials need to be able to hear criticism and refrain from name calling. Johnston said his opposition is taking an engineering question and making it political, but that is exactly what he has done by overriding the community's voice to appease a billionaire who was worried about traffic near her home. Dottie Cora documents show that the mayor's office was involved in responding to the Anschutz letter, and the plan was downgraded within 2 weeks of the letter, just after meeting with a lobbyist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Amy's a very, very fired up activist, very impressive person. Gotten to know her a little bit through this campaign against Alameda. What were you going to say, Brie?
She's responding to the mayor calling her group Trumpian.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he was calling her Trumpian, actually.
I was caught off guard by that. I thought he was talking about the other group. but I was wrong.
No, he was definitely talking about his opponents, but I think he might have also been talking about us. Because
Okay.
You guys are Trumpian?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I
Wow.
just wouldn't know how to take this. Okay.
because I have loved calling the safety plan, the revised safety plan, the Anschutz plan as shorthand.
He did
And
not
that,
like
I think was what he was taking issue with, was distilling it down to that billionaire influence, that alleged billionaire
Well-
influence. He was saying that's a conspiracy.
There
But
was
to
a
call it
letter.
Trumpian is a little excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Voters will decide.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. Good
Well,
take.
voters will
Interesting.
decide. Yeah, and I guess listening to the show, but people are beginning to use Trumpian as an adjective. But the problem is he flip flops so fast.
Yeah, Trumpian could mean.
any
Anything.
number of things. But I
Anything
mean,
right
I
now.
wouldn't want
Yeah.
to be called that. I guess I'll say that.
Yeah, Alameda. Talk about flip flopping. That is so confusing. And then the turning 13th and 14th two-way without warning. So someday, I mean, just what's going on with Dottie is amazing.
Yeah, that is gonna. That I mean, that's a liability for the mayor. That was another thing he quibbled with, was my list of his things he should be afraid of going into re-election. He didn't like that list, but the Dottie stuff is like, I think that's going to hurt him. I think that's going to hurt him. I mean, if I was running against the mayor, this comment from Amy Kenrai would be a good place to start for a stump speech. This is the whole thing distilled right here.
Well, it wasn't just Amy. We've got one more comment. Do you want to read that one,
I'd
Paul?
love to read this one. This is from user OurWatch8988 on Reddit. The CityCast Denver subreddit, pretty great place to hang out. They write, I really appreciate Bree pushing back hard on Johnston's claims that Anschutz getting involved wasn't a major reason for watering down the Alameda safety plan. It's appalling that Johnston would call it a conspiracy when the bike lobby has unearthed emails about the city reversing course after, quote, high-level community concerns. Maybe he could say that was something other than Anschutz, but to say that safety advocates' perfectly reasonable suspicions are, quote, Trumpian is really offensive.
Yeah. Interesting choice of words.
I mean, we read that email to his face and he was like, Jill Anschutz, I don't know her. So interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where are we now? We're back to the original
It's the
road
original
diet
plan,
I
plan.
feel
but
like this
limited.
is the conversation
But
every time we
limited.
talk about it.
Okay.
They're not doing the whole stretch. It's just a stretch, a smaller stretch, and they're not doing the whole original plan.
Well, of course, the people who live right below that part of Alameda who are getting all the traffic calming circles that they didn't get warned about. I mean, that is just, it's civil war in that part of the city, which is so crazy because that's usually a pretty together neighborhood.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it. It's a pretty together
And they
neighborhood.
are appalled. I mean, people with their trees, they go out and they take pictures of the cars that have banged themselves up on the traffic circles. It's
What's next? What's next with Alameda?
I don't know. I
still
mean, we're
wanna
still
go out
watching
there.
it.
I still want to go out there when they put in the pilot and,
Yeah, I'm
and test it for
curious.
ourselves. Talk to all the neighbors and all the businesses, and then also the side streets. You know,
Yeah.
his case of the spillover
Yeah.
causing increased congestion on there. I want to go check that out too.
I live on this kind of side street, one block off of it. Like I live in this kind of area, so I will be curious too to see what that actual spillover looks like. Because I personally am hoping we get something like this on my end of Alameda, but this may be a thing we never see again. We never know. Well, Paul, Patty, thanks. This was fun.
my pleasure.
Yeah, this was fun. Good talking to you, Patty. See you next time.
And listener, don't go anywhere. In just a second, we've got a segment sponsored by Multipass. I'm chatting with CEO Andy Cameron about events you should put on your calendar. Hey, Bree here with Andy Cameron, CEO of Multipass, and we're going to talk about some fun events happening around Denver. Hi, Andy.
Hey, Bree.
Okay, first event. Debbie Check is performing at Temple. If I'm walking into this night, I have no idea what I'm about to experience. What am I stepping into?
Yeah, if you're walking in a temple on March 5th, not knowing really what to expect, you're really stepping into a full, I guess, sensory experience. Temple isn't just like a nightclub. It's really immersive. A lot of sound, high ceilings, visuals everywhere. And Debbie Check, really brings like this really kind of confident, high energy DJ presence. So the room just really feels alive and almost immediately you're kind of easing in the night. You're being pulled straight into it. And it's a dance forward crowd. A lot of great production at Temple, and it's where you kind of look around and realize everyone's just kind of locked in, to the same rhythm.
Cool. Yeah, Temple's a great space. This sounds like an awesome event. Okay, we got to talk about Strangers and Friends, which is a magic show. What actually happens at this show? Like, are folks sitting quietly and watching tricks, or is this more like interactive?
Yeah, so this is actually hosted by Max Davison, and you're definitely not sitting quietly in your seat. I actually had the pleasure of seeing this a few weeks back, and it was absolutely incredible. So Max is actually like more of like a mentalist and a very interactive performer. So you're really going to be part of the experience, not just, watching it happen. He used like a lot of like psychological illusions, mind reading style effects. We might guess someone's like, phone password, tap in your thoughts, read reactions, use storytelling, all that fun stuff. So the show is really designed to be engaging and participatory, where everyone is just, sharing the moment together. And he's got a few upcoming shows. So one on, I think he's got 2 available on March 6th, and then some on April 10th as well.
Awesome. Okay, so this is not like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. This is like mind freak stuff. I'm into it. I love it. Okay, so last, we have the After Love Tour, which sounds like a whole mood. What kind of night should I expect from this one?
Yeah, so you're right. So March 13th is going to be a whole mood, but not, in the club DJ sense. So Rudy Wade, Jay Benz, and Gone Dark are all kind of genre blending artists, pulling from alternative, hip hop, pop, and even like kind of like darker pop sounds as well. So Rudy Wade is really kind of more like emotional, hook driven. Jay Benz is more raw, very lyrically focused as well. And Gone Dark leans more into the dark pop scene. So they aren't just, there to dance, for a few minutes. You're really just going to feel the music. And like I mentioned, it's on March 13th.
Awesome. What a great variety of events for the month. I'm so excited. Andy, thanks again for being here.
Thanks, Brie.
Again, you can check out multipass.com to learn more. We'll have a link for you in our show notes as well, so you're just a click away. Thanks for listening. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed this show, why not take a minute to tell Sapsua co-owner Nhi Nguyen about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at CityCast Denver, and subscribe to our morning newsletter at denver.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See you later.